You are at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one is for Rossinant, who says, "You once said the premise is the least important part of a story. Please dive into that thought a bit more." Sure. I mean, basically, a story can be good with pretty much any premise, because what makes a story good is the way that it's told. It's the quality of the writing, directing, animation, if it's anime, art design. Like, whatever is somebody's job to do is the part that makes it good. The premise is basically just the vehicle to, to drive all of that. But, like, you could pretty much make any premise good. You just have to think about what would make this premise good. Like, what is a presentation that makes sense for this premise? Like, let's say it's a photo of a piece of bread. Well, like, how can I make an interesting photo of a piece of bread, put some burn holes in it or something. I don't know. Like, there's ways that you can make something... Any premise could potentially be interesting. Maybe not to everybody, but, I mean, nothing's going to be interesting to everybody anyway. So, not even concerned on that level. Like, I do think that there are stories that are interesting because their premise is so interesting. There are certainly stories where, like, the premise is the most important part because it is... it's what draws you to the story. But there's also tons of stories with great premises that suck because they don't deliver on the other elements well. And there's plenty of shows with basically no premise that are still great. So, yeah, I think that's premise pretty much the least important element for the most part. I think that if you are a great artist, you can make any premise interesting. It's just a matter... I mean, maybe you can't make any premise interesting, but, amidst all the great artists that are out there, any premise which those artists are capable of making interesting can be made interesting. Maybe that is a limited number of premises, but I don't think it's one that's identifiable by any kind of, like, set of rules or ideas of, like, what a premise should be. I don't know if there's much more to say about it than that. I just straight up think that premise is just like... It's just the way you get your foot in the door to creating something, Again, sometimes a premise can be amazing, but it is not a prerequisite to having an amazing story.